have the honor of introducing Greg Pogue this morning. Greg serves as the Deputy Executive Director and Senior Research Scientist at the IC Squared Institute at UT Austin. In that capacity, he leads research, instructional, and implementation programs surrounding technology commercialization, early venture creation, and entrepreneurship. We're particularly excited to have Gregory with us this morning because the Hill Country Alliance and the IC Squared Institute are just about to embark on a collaborative project in the Hill Country for regional development. We're hoping to bring to the fore new ideas for regional development and emerging ideas, and also to foster new collaborations in the region and strengthen existing collaborations. So we're really excited about that. We're excited to have Gregory with us. And with that, I will hand it over to you, Gregory. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Cliff. It's really my pleasure to be able to join the Hill Country Alliance's important meeting, this opportunity to speak to your key stakeholders and collaborate with you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. We, as the IC Squared Institute at the University of Texas at Austin, are excited to partner with you on the Hill Country future. What I thought I would do is talk about some analogies we are beginning to see between some collaborations we have with communities in the Arctic Circle that work regionally together to what could be possible in the Hill Country and how new strategies for regional development could be embraced. So coordinating regional growth is really what the theme of this conversation will be about. We think it's key to future economic success in non-metropolitan regions where more assets, more population, and more opportunity can be aggregated through this collaboration. It's really challenging to manage towards synergistic goals because it involves different communities, different governances, and honestly, different settings for people. Texas is an excellent place, though, to explore this, as we have a lot of regionality across this particular state. And we feel the Hill Country is the right place to begin this regional conversation. So we've been actually embarking to research and understand the state of Texas and non-metropolitan communities. This is an example of what we did on our summer vacation. We engaged with over 95 students, a combination of UT Austin students and UT Permian Basin students, to begin to do a deep community asset mapping across the state. We also have a workforce development program called Home to Texas that we engaged with Amarillo, Tyler, Beaumont, LaGrange, Bastrop region, Brownsville, McAllen, Del Rio, Midland, Odessa, and of course, Bernie in the middle of the Hill Country. This shows about 130 people, national representatives, mayors, county judges, employers, students, all engaged in these virtual celebrations that we held. And this just shows then the community engagement we had across the state in research this summer. We didn't stop there. We're actually continuing. From our learnings across this research time, we've launched a new program called Regional Accelerate. This is actually an accelerator for communities to develop new visions and roadmaps to achieve those visions in their communities. We have 150 leaders across 58 communities in all 5 regions of Texas. Then these are represented here and shown in the different colors as it is shown by the Office of the Governor. And this just explores the breakout sessions we had with our first session where we had about 130 participants, which is pretty exciting. We continue this program on a weekly basis, and we hope to make this an annual activity. Now, let's get into the Hill Country. This is actually the map that is present on the website, and this shows this dynamic, diverse region that holds together so many important communities in Texas. In our Regional Recovery Home to Texas program, you can see the 6 communities we worked with in and around the Hill Country, as well as our previous work we have done with Kerrville. And then in Regional Accelerate, We are engaging with 10 communities in and around the Hill Country, from large communities like Austin to, again, much smaller communities in the heart of the Hill Country or on the edges. Now you ask, where does this Arctic bit come in? Well, let me try to link this together as I talk to you about northern Sweden. Northern Sweden is a great example of how to coordinate regional growth and rebuild an economy. This is a map of population density in Sweden. And what you can see is there's not a lot of density up in northern Sweden as you're near the Arctic Circle. And yes, it's cold and very isolated here. This is why collaboration is very, very key. Now, IC Squared has been working with these communities since 2012. We've engaged with various employees from Luleå Technical University, the major university there, students there, companies that are in the Arctic Business Incubator in that region, community leaders, mayors, and other thought leaders. These are through a number of different programs that we've hosted in the Austin area, linking into South by Southwest and other types of training projects. And these individuals have taken what they've learned back to 4 particular communities, at least major communities. These are all in the range of 75,000 to 25,000 in population. This is Luleå, Piteå, Skellefteå, and Kiruna. I think I'm saying this correctly. One of the first things we began to learn were what were the regional values in this area. What we found was in northern Sweden, the outdoors, clean environment, green environment, meaning sustainable, was very important. They have a traditional mining culture. They actually extract iron necessary to build the Eiffel Tower every day from northern Sweden. But they want to move away from this reliance on traditional mining. They want to exercise creativity and the resilience of living in this harsh environment. And regionality is a key component that of self and intergroup reliance is important. Now, what have we found so far in our research of Hill Country communities? Well, what we found is that there are several unique or Texas-sized or higher emphasis values found in Hill Country communities. This involves your strong ties to your historical and ethnic heritage. It engages your desire to preserve local traditions and actually amplify these through specific festivals, events, businesses, etc. And of course, not a unique, but actually a Texas-sized love for the environment and safeguarding the natural beauty of the Hill Country. So Sweden's goals, as pulled from the Luleå plan, they want to promote an attractive living environments and sustainable growth in Sweden to meet today's needs without compromising the future generation. This means linking economic growth, social welfare, and good environment together. They want to do this through promotion of equality, integration and diversity, environment, climate, and renewable energy approaches, and the recruitment and retention of young talent. You may notice several values and several goals here that may resonate with you as community leaders in the Hill Country. Now, the regional glue is actually Luleå Technical University. This is the Colorado School of the Mines of Europe, one of the top universities in this form of engineering and geosciences. They have sites in Kiruna. Their main campus, of course, is in Luleå. They have a training incubator and other approaches in Skellefteå, and an incubator for both creatives, music, and new business in Piteå. Now, I'm excited to speak to the Hill Country Alliance because you are that glue. You are the glue that links together the Hill Country in the collaborative way to have dialogue around economy, around people, and around the environment. Now, what are some of the constraints that this northern Sweden community experiences as you compare it with Stockholm and other major communities? Well, of course, first is population. As mentioned, we're looking at 4 communities that are basically what are spread across West Texas-sized geography, which are population of 75, 60, 50, and around 25 to 30,000. Financial capital is lacking. The weather is a big deal. We'll talk about this. It is cold, it is snowy, and it is challenging. Innovation is more dilute because of less people involved compared to a innovation hub like Stockholm. It acts like that Austin-like magnet for young talent and innovation. Notoriety, it is not well known across Europe, at least it wasn't in 2012 as an innovation center. And then of course access, it's hard to get there. It's a long drive, fewer flights, it's challenging. As we looked at the reports and experiences with the Hill Country this past summer, we noted a few common constraints we'd like to just highlight. Available infrastructure is that a lot of the infrastructure is older in the community, uneven across communities. Housing availability and affordability is a limitation. The cost of living is relatively high compared to many areas, creating a disparity between workers and of course, those who may be retired or successful in the region. There's a lack of population diversity, which means that there's less diversity of talents and often struggle to accept new and different things. This links into this idea of a fixed mindset. Many of the communities and the people therein really are satisfied for where they are, not looking in a growth mindedness, not saying that we have to be big, but we have to think future oriented. How do we go beyond where we are today? We've noted that leadership and residents often have disagreement about the meaning of growth, leading to active disagreements among community partnerships. And really there's a lack of regional economic collaboration. It seems that most communities are trying to design and implement their own strategies, not really considering what setting they may be in. So the question is, can regional collaboration actually accelerate growth? And the answer is, we believe it does. So I'm going to tell you some separate stories and how those unique values are linking together in across these communities. The first was identified in two communities, Luleå and Boden, which are nearby, and they began after the first interactions with Austin in 2012 to start marketing something you and I would not market. That's 2 degrees Celsius. This is their average temperature. This is not a selling point for me, not a selling point for many people, but they began to learn that the natural refrigeration was a selling point to many, many data centers. And starting with Facebook and 63 other companies, now they've linked these data centers together in these communities, forming what they call the node pole. This is really important because it brought technology and talent to the region. Linking with L2U, this amplified the activities of the Arctic Business Incubator. It moved from being just a weird incubator in a very cold area to being one of the top 10 incubators in all of Europe in terms of outcomes of startups. And that's pretty remarkable. Further, it motivated Luleå Technical University to extend its linkages to Piteå, Skellefteå, and Kiruna. So be able to engage students and engage the population and how innovation can create new businesses, linking employees and other actions in these data companies. Now in Piteå, you're looking at a community that has 2 major industries. One is of course mining, and you're seeing a strip mining site there for heavy metals, and then paper and pulp associated with the forestry industry. What this has been very fascinating is they've embraced the fact that they must differentiate their economy. The first step was really interesting, to take a circular economy view of the waste products, towel oil from the paper and pulp industry, and plug that into making biodiesel. Real, the national oil companies, now bought 2 companies from Piteå, and they produce around a quarter of all the biodiesel in Sweden. And they do it from waste products, again, from an extant and centuries-old industry of paper. Moreover, they then took land that was publicly available and they designed a strategy for building the largest wind farm in all of the European Union. And this is important because it provides a unique source and a local source of electricity to northern Sweden. Most of their hydroelectric power goes down to Stockholm and southern part of the country. This allows the region to have freedom to grow industry because of having its own power through this wind farm. Skellefteå is now embracing clean technology. Again, it has been a precious metal mining center, but also it has been a center for automotive testing. This involves vehicles, involves transmission parts, involves tires. This is where all the European car manufacturers send their vehicles and parts to be tested in extreme temperatures, extreme road conditions. They leverage this to actually create one of the more exciting opportunities for the region. They have now linked into a company called Northvolt, which is now the largest producer of lithium-ion batteries for vehicles in all of Europe. And they did this through the fact that they had their own hydroelectric plant, the only one privately owned by a community and not nationally owned in all of Sweden. This allowed them to have monies to invest into a project to get Northvolt to come to their region. This is a very exciting opportunity because it spills over, that the jobs required to build the batteries really puts a stress on affordable housing, mid-range housing and access in Skellefteå. So supply chain and logistics companies have now been shared with communities that are about 30 kilometers away, Piteå, or 60 kilometers away, Luleå. So now the spillover effects of Northvolt move into Piteå and Luleå by linking and sharing collaboratively job creation, so that again, one does not have to build all the housing, all the infrastructure in one community, but there could be a benefit to many. Finally, Kiruna. Kiruna sits far above the Arctic Circle. It's a very interesting place. First of all, this is inside of a mine, over a mile deep inside of Kiruna. These mines have caused instability of the downtown area, the city center, and they're moving at 9 kilometers. Can you imagine moving downtown Kerrville 9 kilometers because of instability? That's a pretty remarkable thing. They understand the problems of these traditional industries, and they've taken advantage of something very interesting. There's only one commercial flight, at least until this year, that went over Kiruna every day, meaning it was very, very remote. However, most satellites crossed over Kiruna 15 times a day in their orbit. This has promoted the building of the Strange Space Center from the European Space Agency, engagement of NASA and a data center for uplink and downlink of data. Further, they're now also linking in new space launches in this area. This has promoted an entire new culture of space technology, engaging Luleå Technical University, its students, and of course the communities in northern Sweden. So here comes some of the questions we may want to talk about the hill country. Where is your region going? Well, you have two powerful influences, Austin and San Antonio, and everything in the I-35 corridor. Technology-based companies, cyber, health, and now this, I think, well illustrated by Tesla coming to town, this idea of intersection of technology and manufacturing. This is where our central Texas region is going. This really affects things. This will affect hill country communities. Now, changes with COVID-19 are also going to affect your communities. Travel and mobility, yeah, it's kind of messed up. But even as we get ourselves in a safer position, even as we get ourselves into a vaccine, the fact of the matter is local travel, staycations, local engagement will be dominant over jumping on an airplane or going on a cruise ship. You have a unique opportunity to link into over 3.5 million people. You're a day's trip away, and you need them to be spending money and time in your region. This is a great opportunity. There's a changing nature of work and the workplace. I mean, let's face it, we don't go to the office anymore. We don't know what's going to happen to downtown Austin and San Antonio with office space. You have the opportunity to offer great life and great lifestyle while still being an easy 2-hour drive back to Austin or back to San Antonio. To do that, though, people have to afford to live in your community. People, diverse and new people, have to be invited and accepted in your communities. There's going to be a reconsideration of manufacturing in the domestic supply chain for more resiliency, but also more security. What role can your communities play, or do you play in this? And as we noted, in many ways, the COVID-19 pandemic has most profoundly affected our local businesses. It is projected that half of the restaurants in Texas will close in 6 months if we don't find ways to enhance their opening with providing safety. The pandemic dynamics are going to easily say that this ability to move and not have access to a vaccine is going to leave us in a year's position of struggling with outbreaks and lockdowns in different ways. How do you support your businesses in safe ways? Because that's a big value proposition for communities and the businesses that links into travel and mobility changes, workplace and work style changes. You are uniquely positioned to consider the opportunities of the pandemic as well as fixing some of the problems. So from our studies this summer, we've really honed in on an idea called community development. Economic development really involves businesses, strategy for community, play space, and other aspects. But we've learned that the people actually influence what is accepted, what is pursued, and what is successful more than economic development or community leadership ever imagined. The mindset of the people, fixed versus growth, their agreement with plans, their support of those plans is absolutely essential. COVID means we're going to have to deal with a lot of new things, new business strategy, new places, new opportunities, and new ways quality of life will be defined. This will mean new people, new ideas, new assets, and new capabilities have to be either brought to communities or brought out of communities. This is stressful for people who are used to being in their environment in this way. This allows us to focus on the idea of human-centric economic development. This is really what our focus really is. How do we help the people engage with the community leadership to build a synergistic form of economic and community-based growth that they can agree to and support? So, next steps. We hope to work with the Hill Country Alliance and eventually with communities in the Hill Country to develop a strategy to unite the heritage of the Hill Country, the individual communities that are there in a collaborative manner, the profound beauty of the environment and its opportunities, the people, where they are and where they can become, and the economic future of the region. How do we find a strategy that allows for collaboration and leveraging of this? Our hope is that a resilient and sustainable community life can continue in the Hill Country. This is an impressive and important part of our state. I'm coming to you from the Hill Country as I'm speaking from Austin. We want it preserved. We want it successful for decades to come. I hope this has been interesting, and I hope that the experiences of Northern Sweden help inspire you to think creatively about your community and your region. And here's my my check about how you can speak to me offline. Our motto is think today, grow tomorrow. We've had a summer of thinking. We are now going to continue to learn, and we want to help you grow in the process. So thank you very much for your time.
Greg, thank you so much. That was fantastic. I think that we have time for one very quick question before we have to move to our next panel. Leah, do you have a question for us from the audience? Go ahead.
I sure do, Cliff. Actually, one question from the audience is, what are some development or business opportunities that also align with protecting our natural and cultural resources here in the Hill Country?
So this is really important, and this is why I wanted to bring the Swedish model to bear. They value their culture of their unique Nordic environment. They value their environment as passionately, if not more passionately than you do. And they realize that they have to keep going with mining to some degree, but they've on their own developed strategies that are in agreement with their values. This involves clean technology, clean energy, and engagement of job ecosystems around the building, the maintenance, and of course the recycling of elements in their region. It's not just about manufacturing, it's how jobs can be created at all elements of this, creating this ecosystem of jobs. So you're not only building something that you may be concerned about, batteries, but you're testing them in the region and you're utilizing clean energy to do this work. This is what attracts external investment. And it also allows leveraging of funds to set aside natural areas around Skellefteå, Luleå, Boden, Kiruna to not be touched by industry. So there's an interplay there.
Thanks, Greg, and thank you, Leah. I think it's time for us to move to the next panel. Gregory, thank you so much once again. Really appreciate it and look forward to working on the project with you this fall and winter.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you allowing me to speak.
Thanks.